Hey, welcome to Genre Exposure, a film podcast. Join us as we explore the wide world of cinema, broaden our horizons one movie at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Dustin, and as usual, I'm here with Jason.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, just Jason.
Yep, just me. Unfortunately, anyone who may have missed our last episode, Michael will no longer be joining us on a regular scheduled as before. He may pop in every now and then.
He's moved on to better things.
I think Parenthood's kicking his ass.
Yeah,
but you know,
understandable.
Yeah, totally.
So we miss you, man. We love you, man. We're doing some freestyle picks for a little bit until we can chart, make some plans, and figure out what we're doing next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, whenever I face adversity, like losing Michael in this, I go back to the 80s and seek comfort there, which is what I have done this time.
Yes, today we are going to talk about Miracle Mile from 1988. We'll have to get into what genre this is, because even I was about to just rattle off a thing, but we'll get into it.
We'll talk about that.
But first, of course, we're going to talk about what we've been watching, and I've got a little shout out.
Oh, cool.
So, pretty sure most likely by the time this episode drops, this will already be out. Jason, you joined Cam on the Jacked Up Review Show another time.
Yeah, sure.
You guys were talking about what, kind of just Hong Kong cinema.
Yeah, Hong Kong action stars and movie stars in general, yeah.
Killer.
Most of them happen to be action stars. It's kind of the way around that.
Right, this is the way it goes.
Yeah, so get some more Chow Yun Fat worship going on there, of course.
Well, I'm excited to listen to it. I haven't heard it yet. I think you actually recorded it before like some of the later ones that have already come out.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Just in the shake of things. Mm-hmm. Cool. Well,
I think it's fun. Everyone check it out.
We'll throw that in the show notes. Go check that out. Show some love to the Jacked Up Review Show. That's one of our favorite places to collaborate with.
Sure is.
As much as they'll entreat us and have us on.
Absolutely.
So that being said, I guess, what have you been watching?
Okay. I watched a recent movie called Fall. And this is the one about the two friends who find themselves at the top of a 2,000-foot radio tower.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what this is. Yeah.
Short version, it's good. I liked it.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for these kinds of movies, though. I love that whole like bottle situation where people are stuck somewhere.
What's the one? They're like on a ski lift.
Frozen.
Yeah, Frozen. Yeah.
Which is fucking awesome.
That's what it made me think of.
Not to be confused with a Disney movie, obviously. But yeah, it's very much like that type of setup. So you've got all your usual tropes, and it's nothing like original or groundbreaking.
Doesn't always have to be.
Yeah, no, but the actresses are really good. They sell it. I'm not like afraid of high places, but I would avoid them given the opportunity. So that being at top of this tower is a place I would never be in a billion years. So that unto itself is uncomfortable.
Right.
You know? It does crib a bit from other types of movies of this ilk. Like you'll be able to see some things coming if you've seen certain other movies that I won't name because I don't want to ruin it for you if you haven't. So it's not original, but it's enjoyable and it's pretty tense.
Let me ask, how long is it?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
The proper time for... Actually, no, I'm sorry. This one's a little bit longer. It's 1:47.
So is it pretty much just them up there the whole time, or are there like flashbacks? Or
no, it's all linear.
Cool.
More or less. But and the effects are pretty good. Like you never really get a sense that it's just like a green screen or something, you know, which of course it is. But it's shot well to hide that. Actually, being at 1:47, I don't think it felt too long.
Oh,
believe it or not.
Strange answer from you, but okay.
Yeah, I know. Normally, once you get an hour and a half, I'm like, come on. But it's good. I recommend it.
Okay.
How about you, man? What have you been watching?
Got anything else, or
no? That's my only thing.
Okay, I have a few to dole out here. I set this up on our bonus episode. We got to talk about it. The Silent Night, Deadly Night Vestron Blu-ray collection of films 3, 4, and 5. I marathoned them on Christmas Eve. It was a pretty fun evening. 3 and 4 I'd never seen before, so I vaguely had recollection of like people talking about them.
Oh man!
But I never experienced them, so I'm just gonna rattle through all 3 kind of quickly. So they don't need too much time spent on them, I don't think.
No, they do not.
So Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out, directed by Monty Hellman. So this is the last one that tries to continue the narrative from the original film. And wow, what a weird movie. So you've got first of all, Ricky has been recast. He's Bill Moseley, and like his most subdued role I've maybe ever seen him do.
And that's one of my issues with this movie. First of all, okay, they basically turn the killer. He's basically a robot.
Yeah.
He has like a cybernetic brain.
It's very much like a Jason style slasher where there's like no emotion, no.
Yeah, and it just goes completely off the rails. And he's got this pop-o-matic head cap thing.
Yeah.
But you get Bill Moseley, one of the most energetic, animated, fun actors, and make him a zombie basically. You know, and it's.
Because when I started, I was like, "Oh shit!" So they're gonna try to top the like Garbage Day stuff from the second one.
Yeah,
that's why they brought him in.
You can see
obviously.
Bill Moseley going crazy with that.
But no. Then we have classic horror movie sequel trope. We've got a psychic girl that's blind. Very much seemed like a Jennifer Connelly like ripoff in a way, almost like just the look and the way they have her dressed up and stuff.
Yeah, she wants to be in Creepers.
Yeah. I was sad though because she was a good actress, and I don't think she's actually been in too much else. Just like one or two other films. And then as I watch it, I start to think, okay, something weird's going on with this movie because I notice, okay, this scientist guy, this like doctor that she's working with, do this weird like psychic study. Oh, hey, that's Benjamin Horne from Twin Peaks. Huh, well, that's interesting. And then you watch a little further, and then you know that the main chick has a brother. And then the brother shows up, and it's like, oh, okay, well, it's Leo from Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
That's weird. And then he's talking about bringing his girlfriend with them for where they're going for Christmas. And then she shows up, and it's like, oh, shit, it's Rita from Mulholland Drive. And I'm like, what's going on here now? Like,
a bunch of Lynch fans.
Yeah, and that's kind of my take of the film. It's like this weird, like, I don't think it tries to be Lynchian at all, but just by grace of the people who are in it, it feels Lynchian in a way.
It has a better cast than it deserves. Let's put it that way.
And I have to wonder if David Lynch like saw this at some point and was just like, those people. I'm going to get those people when I can. Do something with them. But yeah, it's not very good. It's like a neat premise of like, they're trying to study the mind of a killer through psychic phenomenon, and it awakens him and he seeks her out. And the real problem is like the middle of it is this boring plotting thing of like nothing happens at all.
It's like in a house. You're just sitting there in a house for like an hour.
Yeah. So that, it's all right.
That's being gracious.
So moving right along, then shortly after that, we get Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation, directed by the Brian Usna. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised I had never seen this because I love Usna and all his films.
Yeah, he could. Every now and then he does a stinker, but he's usually pretty dependable.
So this one cuts completely the connection to the Ricky Caldwell and all that stuff.
How further are you going to take it in the robot brain?
Yeah, which they tease in the third one at the end that he's still out there, but no, it's good. So this one is like barely a Christmas film. It's set in LA. It's like warm, hot. There's like barely a hint that it's Christmas, other than now and again they mention that it's around that time. Mm-hmm. They don't even try to have like a lot of Christmas lights up or like trees or anything to give you the feel that like
lame.
Yeah, there's no Christmasness to it, and I kind of liked it in a way because it was a weird vibe. But it's about this reporter who wants to she wants to be a reporter. She works at like a newspaper, and she's kind of just like she does the classifieds for them and basically makes coffee for all the men, which was the first thing I thought was interesting because this is like if this came out now, you would get like the people on Facebook raging about it, so talking about how woke it is.
Really?
Where it's like, oh, they have all the men in power, and they're trying to make a story, but like, oh, they're putting the women down. It's like, no, that's kind of always gone on.
That's the way it's always been. Yeah.
And people did notice it before, like 2022, 23.
Yeah, people have been aware of this. Yes.
So she's like sleeping with one of like the head reporters, and she's trying to like jockey to get like a better job there and actually be like taken seriously. And this strange death happens where a woman just bursts into flames and falls off the top of a building. And they kind of don't care about it. She takes an interest and wants to like research it and investigate it. And it leads her into interacting with a strange coven of witches that are interested in the occult, and they're kind of based in a bookstore that's in the area.
See, this sounds like a movie that wasn't supposed to be part of the series.
A little bit,
and they just took it and slapped that title on there.
And you get so they do the whole like witchcraft, like female empowerment angle thing, which is pretty cool. I enjoyed that. It gets a little muddied though, because in the end, these witches are evil, and they have this malicious intent for our lead, where they start to try to like bring her under their control and get her to join and be initiated, which involves doing a lot of heinous shit. So this movie like squicked me out super hard because for whatever reason you've got it's Screaming Mad George. Is that the special effects guy? Yeah, he did the special effects. And this cult does a ton of stuff that involves bugs for some reason.
He loves bugs. He's good with bugs.
These huge, big, fat, like grub-looking bugs, and they're just slimy and nasty, and they're popping up everywhere and crawling into people's mouths and wiggling around under their body and nasty stuff. And
nice.
There's one part where they like give her some tea, and it's like spiked and it's like hallucinogenic, and she starts tripping out. And then there's a giant roach that appears. Before it even gets crazy, her apartment itself is infested with roaches, which is nasty enough. And then, oh god, it just gets off the rails and goes crazy. I was like, I don't know if I can handle this, man.
Well, how do you feel about that movie?
Again, it's not great, but it's like there's so many cool effect moments in it, and there's a lot of like neat ideas. I think really the trying to make it have the Christmas and Silent Night, Deadly Night connection is like it hampers it more than it helps it. I'm sure that's how it got made because it was billed as a sequel, but I think it's super weird if you like the sort of like cult witch films
or bugs.
It's worth checking out, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
And then last but not least, the one I had seen before, bringing it in, the death knell of the franchise, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker. So this one brings us back to the Christmas theme. It's right up in the forefront. And we have a unassuming young boy that one night gets a package delivered to his house. And it appears to be a present which he tries to open. And then his strange and kind of abusive dad yells at him and sends him away, opens the package, and it's a toy that kills him. So we've got
Is this a Puppet Master movie?
So we've got killer toys. I'm automatically in. That was why I rented it in the first place when I was a young lad.
That's why you don't accept gifts from Toulon.
No, this is the Toy Maker, and this is actually let me find it because it's hilarious. I have to get the names exactly right just to be sure. Joe Petto. Now, if you say that really fast, it might sound like another name that you might know. Geppetto, I don't know, maybe.
Could be.
And he runs an unassuming toy shop where he makes toys and sells them for the locals and keeps them happy.
Now, is this Mickey Rooney?
It is Mickey Rooney, which is also funny because he famously decried the first film in this franchise, said it was awful, that should never have been made, shouldn't be allowed to exist. But you know,
guys got to eat. You know,
you give it some years, the calls stop coming in, and you got to make a little money. And next thing you know, you're Joe Petto in Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, and he lives with his very odd teenage son, Pino, which might sound like the start of another name that would be related to that. Maybe Pino. Grigio. I don't know, Pinocchio.
Oh,
maybe.
That one. Yeah.
This is just such a weird film. There's a crazy subplot too with the main family of like the husband that dies is actually like not the father of the son, and there's this other guy creeping around that's kind of like a red herring. Like, is he the toy maker that's making the killer toys? But he turns out to be like the first love of the mom, and they were like together, and then he was going to go be in the war, but she was pregnant and didn't want him to know, and then she married the other guy for security, and it's ridiculous and completely unnecessary.
Soap opera territory.
And that's really the weak point on this one, because again, all three of these films, I think what unites them is that in the middle they have all this dragging that just falls apart. And for this one, it's the mystery of like, well, who's the toy maker? Who's the villain? Who's the bad guy? And it's not very effective or compelling, and you don't really care, and you just, show me the killer toys.
Yeah.
But where this film kind of trumps the other two, I think, is when it comes to that final act. Oh, does it deliver? You get little toy soldiers with live ammunition. You get a crazy like RC car with razor blades on it. All kinds of fun, crazy toys. And then in their twist of the whole Pinocchio motif, Pino turns out to be an android robot thing that was built and went crazy and rogue, and he wants a real mother to love him. And he is the mastermind behind everything, and is trying to get the lead character, the mother, to take him as her son and not have her normal son.
Okay.
And there's some great, weird, creepy, rapey bits too, where he's like trying to simulate that he's fucking her and being like, "I love you, mommy. I love you, mommy." It's very weird, very disturbing. Perfect cap off for a movie that's not that great but has its moments.
All right. Well, it's just like you had a great Christmas Eve.
So that was my Christmas Eve.
Wonderful.
God bless.
Fun for the whole family. Now, did your significant other watch this with you?
No, she did not.
Okay, all right.
She said, "What are those?" And I said, "Oh, they're the late sequels to Silent Night, Deadly Night, the classic one with the Killer Santa." And she said, "Fuck no, I'm not watching those. Go in the other room."
Did you ever watch the remake, the Silent Night?
No, I did not.
Yeah,
Is it
you don't need to
anything
waste your
or
time. No, it's just uninspired cash grab.
garbage day?
Yeah.
All right, today we are talking about Miracle Mile from 1988, directed by Steve De Jarnatt.
Yes. This is only one of 2 movies I think he directed.
My bad.
The other being Cherry 2000.
Yeah, which you gifted me the Blu-ray for this,
Yes.
and one of the special features was a trailer for his other movie. So
Nice. Okay.
nice little internal consistency they had going on there.
Yeah, if you like this one, go check out that one. I actually never saw Cherry 2000.
The trailer was cool. It was like a weird
It's like a
sci-fi,
post-apocalyptic kind of thing, yeah.
I think it was made before Miracle Mile.
It was.
But it kind of seems like it would be better as a sequel, but we'll get into that.
Right, right.
So let's start where we always start. Let's talk about genre real quick before we go too deep into this.
Okay. Well, briefly, it's about...
give us the synopsis.
The blurb on IMDb, the synopsis is, a young man hears a chance phone call telling him that a nuclear war has started and missiles will hit his city in 70 minutes.
Which roughly aligns to the length of the film.
Yeah, it's
from
almost
when it
real
delivers.
time.
Yeah.
So what genre is this?
So the tags you see online are action, drama, and romance. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to make a note that a lot of the ad copy, if you read like the promotions of this film, they call it a romantic thriller. How do you feel about those?
I wouldn't call it a thriller, personally. It definitely has that romance element, although that's not like, I remember, I saw this when it came out on VHS back in the day. I haven't seen it since like the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this existed, so...
Wow, yeah, okay. And I remember at the time, I'm like getting kind of bored because it's just these 2 people getting together at the beginning. Of course, now I find that more interesting because I'm a
you were young,
mature
you could
person
appreciate
now.
it, yeah.
I was like, when are they going to get to the fireworks factory, I appreciate it a lot more now. But yeah, for the first 20 minutes or so, it could just be like just a romance.
Yeah.
But drama, sure, okay. But I mean, God, everything's drama, honestly.
To a degree, yeah.
Action, there's a little action.
The final act a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But it's not like a, Rambo run around, shoot 'em up type thing.
The term that kept coming up to me, and I don't even know how much people take this as like a genre or a tag for a genre, is suspense.
Yeah, it's
I thought it
definitely
was very suspenseful.
Suspense is better than thriller.
Yeah.
For me.
So to me, like a thriller, there's like you're trying to figure something out.
Yeah, it's like a
thriller.
crime element.
Yeah, like
or
what's
something.
going on? There's a mystery, or there's like an unknown element.
Like a Sorcerer is a good example. That's more suspense than a thriller.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Tenebrae is more of a thriller than a suspense.
I like it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
But yeah, this pretty much mashes all sorts of genres together. And it was the director, De Jarnatt, also wrote the screenplay. And apparently it sat in limbo for like 10 years.
Yeah, this has a lot of interesting history as far as like the production and how it was made.
I don't know how much of that we want to get into, but I think it's interesting. It was definitely a labor of love for him.
Yeah.
Because he wrote it for Warner Brothers. So they owned it. And then he bought it back from them for like 400 grand. No, it was like 25 grand.
Yeah, 25 grand.
And because they were wanting to change the ending, they wanted a spoiler alert. They wanted a happy ending, and he's like, "No, fuck that. That's not the movie." So he bought it back from them. His own script, he has to buy back, and 25 is not chump change, especially in the 80s. So he buys it back, and they want it back again, and they offer him like 400 grand for it, but they didn't want him to direct.
Yeah, that was the main thing is he was like an unproven director, so they wanted like a big name to attach to it.
I was like, no, this is my story. I want to tell it. And I mean, I don't know if the guy just happened to be independently wealthy or something, but for a struggling director to turn down that much money, that's crazy. I mean, that means he's committed to this movie. And I respect the hell out of that.
I also thought it was funny, apparently for a short, brief stint in its run-up to ever actually happening, it was almost going to be Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yeah. Now, it does have sort of a Twilight Zone sort of feel to it. I can see that.
Apparently, the studio that was working toward it had like an idea for a twist at the end. I couldn't ever find any info on what that twist was.
I'll bet you anything it was. Oh, it was a dream, but he wakes up and it kind of starts repeating like the whole dead of night sort of thing.
But I guess what happened there was that Steven Spielberg came in to work on Twilight Zone, the movie, and then they were like, no, let's do something else. Mm-hmm. And also...
but the script had the reputation of being like one of the best unproduced scripts in Hollywood.
Yeah, I have this... it was picked by the American Film Magazine as one of the 10 best unmade screenplays in Hollywood at the time.
It's crazy. And at one point, Kurt Russell was attached, and so was Nicolas Cage. Could you imagine Nicolas Cage in this? Oh, man.
I think
it'd be pretty much like Sailor, his character Sailor.
I think they got the right guy for the job. Anthony Edwards, like, really... I couldn't imagine anyone else playing this character.
No. He's very good in it. He sells it. He's very much a good kind of everyman. Mm-hmm. And that is something I like about this movie a lot, especially now as an adult, is that the two leads, they're not like beautiful Hollywood types.
Right.
They're normal, average-looking people. And that would never get done now. I'm surprised it got done then. But it wouldn't happen now, that's for fucking sure.
A little other like pre-info before we go in. A lot of this was filmed like right on location, and a lot of it was filmed at night to actually get the look as they have in the film. Yeah. They shut down Wilshire Boulevard for 2 days when shooting the climax of the movie with we'll get to it, but when the streets are packed with people.
And that adds a lot of production value to it too. And in case you don't know, Miracle Mile is it's a neighborhood in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should set that up.
All the action takes place.
And also, with that big climactic final scene, they ended up having to come back and shoot extra scenes for it once principal shooting had finished, and De Jarnatt had to just pay out of pocket to get that done.
Wow.
So this is really like a true labor of love.
It really is. And I think that shows. And for me, that goes a long way toward appreciating the movie.
Mm-hmm. All right, so maybe we should...
Let's get into it.
Let's get stuck in.
Yeah, it begins with a voiceover, which I'm usually not a big fan of. Mm-hmm. And that does kind of quickly disappear.
It's weird because it's heavy in the first part of the film, and then like once you're past the halfway point, it's gone.
It disappears completely. Yeah. But yeah, we get Anthony Edwards. We're introduced to him. He's a musician. He's playing a trombone.
Yep, he's Harry Washello.
Harry Washello, yes. And he's talking about how it took him 30 years to find love. And there's a girl's picture on his trombone slide.
Yeah, like taped to the end of it. Yeah. I like the look of that.
Uh-huh. And then we get like a little brief on the Big Bang.
Yeah, it like cuts to like a kind of like a school video that's teaching you about the Big Bang. But I liked it because I was kind of like, what the fuck is this film doing? But then as you watch it, it pans out and you realize it's a screen that's in this museum.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's clever. I like that.
Yep. So Harry and this girl he's obviously interested in, he's kind of following her around, trying to get her attention.
Her name's Julie Peters, and she's played by Mare Winningham.
Yes.
And I got to talk about her real quick right off the start.
Go for it.
Her initial outfit is so 80s.
Yeah.
It's purple on purple on purple.
Uh-huh. And the hair, too. The hair is very 80s. I love it.
Oh, it's just like, wow, okay.
And this is a very 80s movie, but in a good way, I think.
But they're at the La Brea Tar Pits.
La Brea Tar Pits,
which is the first of several very iconic LA locations we get in the film.
Mm-hmm. And I love the opening credits, too. I like the way how it's scrolling.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like you're following them on a moving walkway or something.
And I dig it because, like, there's stuff going on here. Like, there's a school field trip there. And Harry's kind of a cut-up, so he'll, like, be playing with the kids and, like, cracking jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
And the teacher even, like, reprimands him at one point.
This is my field trip, young man. You think that he works there or something, but he doesn't. He's just
goofing. But yeah, they keep having a few, like, they'll cross paths with one another and smile and...
Mm-hmm. But then he's eventually out there looking at the tar pits themselves, and it's got like statues of woolly mammoths caught in it and stuff like that. And it also has a nice close-up of like a Coke can or something in there.
Yeah.
So there's trash in these tar pits that, have been there for millions of years.
Oh, and not to like get minuscule on every little scene, but just before he goes outside, he finally tries to talk to her in the gift shop, and he tries to set up this thing where he's going to buy something and be in line behind her so he can say something. Yeah. But there's this old couple, and they just conveniently happen to get in the line before him, and it like cuts them off so he can't say anything.
It's sad, it really is.
But then that's kind of why he goes outside, because he's like, man, I wish I would have said something to her.
Mm-hmm. And then she comes up to him, and they were pretty much hitting it off immediately. Because they know they're interested in each other. And it's like, let's just stop playing games and talk to each other. And then we see them on like a series of dates.
Yeah.
Like they go to a restaurant. And she doesn't want to eat the lobsters.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why don't we just, buy them and free them? Let them go. And he says, how much for all the lobsters? And the guy says, $1,200. And he pays it. He pays it. So next scene, they're tossing lobsters off the pier.
And you can tell immediately, like, they have such great chemistry together, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I usually don't like the whole, like, sudden love at first sight trope in a film, but, like, here it feels right. And I don't know how to, like, put it into words, but it just works.
Right. I think that helps that it is too... I mean, they're probably, he says he's 30 years old, so they're not, like, young. Mm-hmm. They're adults. And again, they're kind of average looking. It's all about charisma.
Mm-hmm. They both have an interesting charisma to them.
Mm-hmm. You buy their relationship.
And there's something too, like, one of his narrations, he talks about it, like, he thought he would never meet someone that would, like, know the same kind of things he was into.
Yeah, obscure jazz musicians.
But she's, like, right there with him.
Yeah. And then we see a scene where they're hanging out with her grandfather.
Yeah, she's very close to her grandparents.
Yeah, they're watching him. He's playing to a very, very small crowd of people at this outdoor amphitheater. And I love the scene where he's playing his trombone solo, and there's a dude wearing shades who stands up with the clarinet. It's his turn, but he keeps playing his solo.
And he almost like bops him in the head with the slide.
And he gives him this look that says, sit down, fucker.
But her grandfather, Ivan, played by John Agar, he's like this sweet old man.
Okay, we need to talk about John Agar for a minute here.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So John Agar is old-timer movie star. He was in some of the early John Wayne films. And he's probably best known for his spate of 1950s creature features.
See, I thought the whole time, I was like, who is this guy? Yeah. He's so familiar.
Yeah, John Agar's great. He was in Revenge of the Creature.
Oh, okay.
He was in Tarantula, both of which had bit parts by Clint Eastwood. He was in The Mole People, The Brain from Planet Eros. He was in Invisible Invaders. At least 3 or 4 of these movies were on MST3K.
Wow.
So, I mean, he's legit Hollywood royalty, in my opinion.
It's funny because he exudes that even when I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, he's got a lot of just charisma. You could just, Although I did have to crack up when he offers to buy Harry a tube steak.
Yeah.
Tube steak.
But while he's buying that, Julie's grandmother, Lucy, played by Lou Hancock, she also shows up and talks about, like, coming in and starting dinner.
Yeah.
And we get this weird confrontation between Grandpa and Grandma here, where it seems like they've been fighting and they don't really interact with one another.
Yeah, she said they've had some beef for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even know what the argument was.
And I don't think it comes till like late in the film, but it's worth bringing up now. Later, she like talks about it more, and she says like one of the things that she hated was that she would come to visit, and like Ivan would take her to a wax museum, and he'd think it would be the coolest thing ever. And then the next day she would be with Lucy, and then she would go to that same wax museum, and she just kind of had to play along with them.
Yeah, act like it was her first time there. Yeah.
Because they would act like they have nothing in common anymore, but ultimately all their interests are the exact same things.
And then we see Harry walks Julie to her job. She works at a coffee house, like a restaurant.
Yep. Slinging hash.
Slinging hash. She gets off at midnight, so they're planning to hook up after that to go out.
Yeah, like an all-night party kind of thing.
Yeah, it's L.A., man. Hey. She has a great line here, though. She says, "Third date, Harry, I'm going to screw your eyes blue."
So yeah, he goes home and he's going to set an alarm to get up.
Yep, going to take a little nap, get ready for his big date. But he's out there smoking, right? And he flicks a cigarette off there. And a bird comes along, gets the cigarette, takes it to its nest. The nest catches on fire, burns through some cables, and out goes his power.
Now, see, if you're talking about like a Twilight Zone thing, that's such a like series of incidents that just kind of happen for no reason.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we see Julie. She's waiting for him. He's not there. She tries to call.
She waits a long time,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And there's no power. There's you can't get through on
No,
the phone.
no girl would wait that long in real life.
Julie does. So he wakes up. And he seems unusually refreshed. The power's back on at this point. And he's getting ready, and he doesn't even know. He realizes the time was like 3:30.
Yeah.
When he notices the time on television.
I love the first like hint he has that something's wrong is that he's like flicking through the channels and it's all either static or like the we're going off for the night thing.
Yeah.
Or a weird black and white movie.
So he freaks out and goes up to the restaurant. Julie's long gone.
He tries to get her address, right? Because she was at first like a little cagey about where she lived.
Yeah, he doesn't know exactly where she lives, just general area. But while he's trying to do all this with the waitress who works in there, the public phone outside keeps ringing. It was ringing as we see him walk into the restaurant in the first place. And he comes back out, and it's ringing again. So he just goes over there and picks it up.
Yeah, because isn't it he tries to call her, leaves a message, then he goes to leave and it rings.
Right,
yeah. And then
we get a little bit more before that. That's right. It's ringing when he comes in. He's trying to get the message, and we start meeting all the other patrons in the restaurant.
Which I think there's one that you really want to talk about, right, Jason?
Actually, there's a few to talk about here. This is a pretty fun scene if you like 80s character actors.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, we have Denise Crosby. She comes in carrying a big briefcase. She opens it up, and there's this brick of a fucking phone in there. One of the old cellular phones. She's got Cliff Notes to Gravity's Rainbow, which I meant to do a little bit of research on. Do you know anything about Gravity's Rainbow?
Not quite, no.
Okay, maybe we should cut this part out so we don't look like idiots. But she starts skimming through that. Who else do we meet? We see there's like a guy who is obviously a little bit drunk. Speaking with they credit the person as a transvestite.
Yeah.
Talking to her, but they don't make a big deal out of it, and that's something I dig.
I appreciate that too.
I think his name's
like,
Roger.
He's just one of the regulars.
Yeah,
So
one of the no one gives him a hard time. It's just, again, LA, it's great. Apparently, but the guy who has been drinking, his name's Earl Bowen. Now you'll recognize him as a psychiatrist from the first 3 Terminator films. He was also in Battle Beyond the Stars.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And he also provided several voices for different Star Trek video games.
So, multiple Star Trek references.
Yeah, of course, Denise Crosby was Tasha Yar in Star Trek Next Generation. And her...
unfairly maligned, I'm going to say.
Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I don't blame her for leaving the show. I mean, she thought her character was underwritten, and it was. And she also went on to play her half-Romulan daughter, Sela, for a couple of episodes. Yeah. So we got that. Fred is the cook.
Yeah.
And he's played by Robert Doquey, who was the chief from the RoboCop movies. He also played the Klingon in Star Trek
Wow.
Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
The episode Sons of Moog.
Okay, see, I've never seen any of Deep Space Nine. That's my one.
DS9's great.
That's my one black area.
A lot of people consider it the best one.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, and Harlan, he's the rude one who keeps trying to pick up Leda, who is Denise Crosby's character. He was played by Claude Earl Jones, and he did a bunch of TV work. I guarantee he's one of that guys. You've seen him, but he's probably best known for he was one of the vigilante men in Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
Oh.
And he was also the detective in Reanimator 2.
Oh, see, that's my least scene in that franchise. Sadly.
Oh, it's not very good. It has its moments. It's better than 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are all the fun, famous faces from the restaurant.
And this almost, not intentionally for sure, but it gave me that like David Lynch kind of vibe, where it was like this weird, quirky diner with its random assortment of patrons. That
Yeah, and you get the sense they're all regulars. They
Yeah.
all kind of know each other, you know. So yeah, then he goes outside. Because he's trying to call her, right?
Yeah.
There's no answer. Gets the machine, and he's walking out of the booth, and the phone rings again. So he just goes back and answers it. Maybe it's her.
Right.
I don't know. But it's not. It's somebody named Chip.
It's a whole chip, you know.
He gets this frantic phone call of this guy who thinks he's talking to his father.
Yeah, he just starts too. The second the receiver clicks.
Yeah, it's like he was already talking, you know. But he's talking about how, like the birds are in the air.
And he says, "This is it. It's the big one."
It's the big one. Yeah, he says, 75 minutes from now, they're gonna get a return barrage of nuclear warheads, and that's it. It's over.
Where it's like 50 minutes, we're gonna send it, and then 75, we get the return.
Yeah. And Harry's like, this is really funny. Anything better to do than pull pranks like this? But then we hear some other people come in over the phone.
Oh, actually, it develops a little bit before that because Chip kind of asks him. He's like, "Well, wait,
right.
who is this? Where is this?" And he's like, "Dude, this is just a payphone."
Yeah, he's like, "What number did I call?"
And they realize that Chip mixed up the area code.
Yeah.
And he gives Harry the name of his father and says, like, "Can you please let him know and tell him so he can try to get away?"
And he tells him the right area code that he meant to call.
Yeah.
Apparently, Harry has a really good memory.
Surprisingly, considering all the stuff he's about to go through.
Yeah.
But then what you're talking about, we hear people come in the background and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And Chip tries to play it casually, but they clearly realize he's on a phone call spilling the beans, and we just hear gunfire take him out.
Automatic gunfire.
Yeah. Then this very stern voice kind of picks up on the phone, asks who this is, and again, Harry's kind of like, "Oh, great prank, you guys."
Yeah, he's like, "Isn't it like some federal crime or something to make a prank like this over the phone?" And they're like, and they tell him basically, go back to sleep. Forget about what you've heard and go back to sleep. And they hang up. And Harry is freaking out right now because the phone call does sound genuine.
Yeah,
it's a very elaborate prank.
The amount of planning and like time and investment and money, and to even know that someone would pick up the phone at that time to do a prank is like right.
If you can't record it for the internet, why bother?
Yeah.
But Harry goes back into the restaurant. Is asking everyone if they know Chip.
Because I like it. He doesn't announce his intention, but it becomes very clear he wants to see if there's any way he can confirm any part of the story.
Right.
Because if there's like one piece that's true, that changes the situation.
Exactly. Let's see.
But then, as he is describing things, that gets Landa's attention.
Yes. Since obviously she is an important person because she has a big old brick of a phone.
And what really catches her is she asks him to repeat it verbatim. And when he does, there's like a string of code.
Yeah.
Like
he
code
remembers.
words. Yeah. And it seems very significant to her.
Yes. She starts making phone calls. And everyone else is freaking out, asking about what's going on.
And then she's alarmed because everyone she's trying to reach isn't there, and they're all on their way to the southern hemisphere.
Yeah. Kind of a weird coincidence. So the cook freaks out Fred. He gets up on the counter with a gun. He demands the truth from Harry. Are you just bullshitting us or what? Fred freaks out. And everyone's starting to believe, oh, wait, maybe this is really happening. And in the 80s, we were ready for it. I was convinced we weren't going to make it out of the decade without a nuclear war. That was that was the feeling. Everyone had it. So, something like this was pretty believable, honestly.
Still kind of prescient now.
Considering where we are now
Yeah.
and how close, I don't know where the doomsday clock is right now, but it's probably not too far from midnight. Whew. So the cook, he gets up all these canned goods and things like that, and he's hauling ass out with a cart.
And Landa has a plan for them to get to the LA International Airport and to get a private jet that will take them to a compound in Antarctica in a region where there's generally no rainfall.
Right. Sounds Sounds good. Sounds doable. Okay.
And it's funny because they just invite all the patrons along.
Yeah, I love how everyone just starts working together. There's some bickering and stuff like that, and people are freaking out, but it's not like, oh, fuck you all, I'm going by myself. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, yeah, let's all go.
Yeah.
So they're like loading up the catering truck, and someone takes off with Harry's wheels, so he can't drive.
Well, there's like a homeless guy that's kind of wandering around outside the restaurant. You see him when Harry first arrives, and then you see him again when he makes the phone call, and then presumably he's the one that jacks the car and leaves.
Right.
There's a lot of fun little, like, they set up something in the frame, and then there's like a payoff. So I really like the way they constructed a lot of the scenes and stuff.
Right. So he hops in the truck with everyone else, but he's trying to get Fred to go by and grab Julie. Yeah, he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, let's just go. And the whole time, Landa's making calls and making plans. They're supposed to meet a helicopter up on top of the
mutual benefit life building.
Yes. So he's getting all this information, but at the same time, he realizes that Fred's going the wrong way.
Yeah, he just blows past the turn.
He's like, fuck, I ain't going to get her. And he even grabs Fred's gun and threatens him and shit. But Fred don't care. He says, you can jump off when I get on the on-ramp.
And that's when Landa kind of tells him, like, hey, get to this building. Find her, get to this building. If you can make it in this amount of time, the helicopter will bring you to the airport. We can get you out of here still.
Yeah, which is pretty righteous of her.
Yeah, she's quite benevolent to be, like, on the inside of all of this stuff.
Hey, Tasha Yar's a straight shooter. What can I say?
True.
So then he does just that. He jumps out of the truck.
And gets fucked up.
He does. He actually passes out for a little while. His glasses get smashed. He gets a gash on his head. He wakes up, the headlights bearing down on him. And you think it's a car coming, but then they kind of split. And it's kind of a cool shot. Yeah. I like this shot.
I like how it looked.
And it's actual motorcycles that just go around him.
And I like how when he's recovering himself, he picks back up the gun, but the handle has, like, broken apart.
Yeah.
So it's just like the little metal...
the frame.
Yeah,
of
frame.
The butt, So then the car's coming toward him, and he stops it. So he's got a gun. It's a convertible. And it kind of drives out of control, right? It kind of spins out of control. And the trunk opens. It's full of stereos.
Yes.
And speakers.
So you already know something weird's going on.
Yeah. Let's see here. The dude's name's Willis. And he's just like, take whatever you want, man.
It's Wilson, isn't it? I thought
it was Willis. Maybe it is Wilson.
Yeah, played by Mykelti Williamson.
Oh, my bad. Okay. I think I'm having a different Strokes moment here or something like that.
And I like his character a ton. Like, he's got, again, like, charisma.
A lot of charisma.
Every like central character in this film just has so much charisma.
Yeah, everyone's just a little bit odd, a little bit different,
but yet endearing somehow.
Yeah, it makes him stand out.
And so he kind of takes him at gunpoint. It's just does. Hey, you're going to drive to this place.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, whatever you say. And he's like, I've never hurt anyone in my life, but if you don't do this, I'll shoot you.
Which it is interesting the way Harry develops here, because it's like he's so mild-mannered kind of in the first part, but he really takes charge of the situation and like does his all to make it through.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, some people might find it unbelievable that someone you basically just met would mean that much to you, but I buy it. I buy the relationship.
Oh yeah, they sell it completely.
Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me at all, especially if that's the only person you really have in your life that you've
ever had a connection with like that. Yeah,
hell yeah, you're gonna do what you can.
And then you unavoidably get this news that the world's ending. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So then we get a funny like side bit that happens where he learns that their car doesn't have enough gas to get to the apartment and then to the building. Mm-hmm. So they decide they got to stop at a gas station.
Yeah, and the closest one is for cabs. Mm-hmm. And Wilson's like, they're not going to sell us gas. He's like, don't worry about it. So Harry goes to a payphone there. He gives Wilson like $20.
Yeah.
So let's get some gas. He goes to the payphone, calls Julie's grandfather.
Yeah, warns him, tells him to get ready.
To go get Julie, and he'll be there shortly to pick him up.
Tries to call Julie again, unsuccessfully.
Mm-hmm. But they're in trouble because the gas station is run by Mr. Blue, from Reservoir Dogs.
He's got a sawed-off shotgun. He ain't fucking around.
No. But Wilson says that, he wants $20 in gas, but that dude over there will pay you $50 for the gas. So then, the guy wants the $50, which, again, Harry shells out. No problem. Who is that actor who played Mr. Blue? He's the one guy I forgot to read. There are so many character actors in this.
Yeah.
Ah, well. Anyway, I'll look it up later. So, okay, while they're doing this and deciding how much the gas is going to cost, so cops pull up.
And immediately they're a little alarmed because you've got a dude with a sawed-off shotgun.
And Mr. Blue says, I'm going to get 5 years for this. And Wilson's like, I got a truck full of stolen stereos. So the cops come out and they're like, what are you all doing?
And you can see, it cuts to Harry and he sees this from the payphone and he's just like, shit.
Yeah, and things go off the rails fast.
I love how quick, too, Wilson tries to bury the attendant. Because he's like, hey, man, he pulled a gun on me.
Yeah, he's been coming over here for several nights trying to rob me. Of course, the cops aren't buying it. And Wilson kind of freaks out and decides to pump some gas into their faces.
Right. Which makes them panic.
And one of them raises their weapon.
And the first thing they do is turn off their body cams, and then... Oh, wait, those didn't exist back then.
Yeah, no.
But they would have.
Oh, yeah. But one of them fires a shot, and the spark ignites the gasoline. And they go up just like a torch. Both of them go up. So they're burning. But, the gas is still pumping, and it's going toward the pumps. And everyone's freaking out, like, you get the hell away.
And notably, they never got any gas in the car.
They never got any gas in the car. So Harry and Wilson take the cop car and pull away just as the pumps explode.
Good explosion, too.
Yeah.
I like this effect.
Mm-hmm. It was obviously, mad at him, but it looked good. So things have already just gone completely nuts.
And I love their conversation as they're leaving because Wilson's like, he desperately wants them to know, he wants Harry to know that, like, he didn't mean to kill them.
Yeah.
He just panicked and, like, doused the gas on them.
Right. Just wanted to get away. And this is where Wilson is led to believe that there is a meltdown happening in town.
Yeah, because at this point, he has to know what's going on. And
yeah.
Harry kind of, that's a white lie.
Yeah, he doesn't say yes or no. It's what Wilson assumes. So he's like, well, we got to get my sister.
Which, to his credit, Harry's like, yeah, let's go get Julie, and then we'll go get your sister.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
yeah,
his plans keep not panning out quite how he wants.
Yeah, they get to Julie's building. He tells Wilson, wait here. I'll be right back.
Isn't honking like 4 or 5 minutes?
Yeah, honking 4 minutes. It takes a while for Harry to find the apartment building, and then he's greeted with Julie's grandmother with a shotgun.
A lot of shotguns.
Yeah. But then, she's immediately friendly when she realizes who it is.
Yeah. And we learn the reason he couldn't get a hold of Julie is that after being upset about being stood up, she decided to pop a Valium.
Yeah.
And knock out for the night.
She is out. He can't even wake her up. He just picks her up. So he picks her up, he takes her down, and he puts her in this shopping cart, and he was like wheeling her around that way. But Wilson decided not to wait.
Yep. He literally tells him, sorry, man, gotta get my sister.
Yeah, so he takes off to go get his sister. But luckily, the building's like pretty much right across the street from them, so it's not too far.
You could see it from the apartment.
Yeah.
And it's one of the taller buildings in their area, too, so it kind of is like a landmark that stands out.
Mm-hmm. Then the grandparents reunite. Mm-hmm. And then they have a nice little kind of tender reuniting scene.
Mm-hmm. And they go off together to get the car.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells them just to drive and meet them at the building. He's going to run Julie over there.
Yes. Julie's waking up at this point, And maybe it's the volume, I don't know, but she's pretty chill.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, what are we doing? Why am I in a cart? What's going on?
Doesn't he first tell her that they're going to go on like a balloon ride or something?
I think that's what she says.
Yeah.
She's like, got some big romantic thing going on. And of course he has to explain first that his power was out. That's why he wasn't there and all that stuff.
I love
and then she immediately like forgives him.
She's like, sure, sounds like that could happen.
Yeah. It's like, I believe you. Yeah. But at some point, Harry kind of tells him what's going on, right? At least the grandmother. He tells the grandmother what's going on, but let's not tell Julie until we have to.
Mm-hmm. So when they get near the building, they pull up in their car and reveal that they're not going with Harry and Julie.
Nope. They're going to go get some breakfast.
They want to spend their last minutes together.
Yep. It's pretty sweet.
I love how they frame it because Ivan's like, I'm going to go get the greasiest, nastiest, just bad, terrible, bad for me with my heart and everything and just eat the whole thing. And then she's like, and I'm going to watch them.
And then she tries to drive off and can't, something happens and he starts fussing at her and you think they're going to get another fight and they just go, ah, ha, ha, ha.
And Julie's like dumbfounded at this.
Yeah, but she wants to go with him. Mm-hmm. She's like, can't we go on a balloon ride some other time?
So they get in the building. This would seem to be where it would be the end of the movie, but of course Harry's not got the best luck. So
no, and it's hilarious when they get to an elevator. The elevator's closing, and these two women pop into frame
with like Uzis, with
freaking Uzis, and they're like, "Hold the elevator!" And it's like they've come in from another movie. They have their own adventure happening.
They just crashed in.
Yeah. They get up to the top, and there's a chopper there, and there's this guy loading it. Some asshole named Gerstead.
Yeah, played by Kurt Fuller.
Who's also been on a ton of things.
Love his performance.
He usually plays the jerk. He's pretty good at it.
And it's funny because he says that he doesn't believe Landa about what's going on, but she's paying him so much, he's going to set everything up how she wants anyways.
Right. But the pilot's not there.
Yep.
There's no one to fly this thing.
They got $2,000 waiting for him to fly the plane.
Yep. So Harry's like, I'm going to go find a pilot. Give me the money. And he tells Julie to wait there. I'm going to find someone who can fly this thing. What else are you going to do?
Right.
So he's like, okay. So he runs off.
This is one of the weirder parts of the film.
It is, but
it's so cool though.
It is, and it's just really, really when it really becomes kind of a fever dream too.
Yeah,
it's like things just get really surreal. Because he goes down the street and there's like this fitness, like aerobics place that's open 24 hours. I'm sure it's already full of people.
Well, it's funny because first he sees people like jogging and he tries to flag them down and they ignore him.
Yeah,
and then he like follows them to the fitness club.
Right. And he goes in and he's just asking randomly. Does anyone know how to fly a helicopter? Does anyone know anyone who can fly a helicopter? And he goes into one of the like dance classes. They're blaring the music and everything, and he's trying to ask them. He just pulls out his gun and shoots it.
I love he shoots the stereo.
Yeah, that's right. He shoots the stereo. Yeah. Does anyone know how to fly a helicopter? And they're all just like, of course, trying to get away from him and panicking. And then he's leaving that room, and he's kind of muttering to himself, like, "I find someone who can fly a helicopter." And there's this guy weightlifting who says, "I can fly a helicopter."
He's jacked as hell. He looks like he should be an action movie star.
He is, because he is Brian fucking Thompson, another great cast member. You've seen this guy. I guarantee you've seen this guy. He was one of the punks in the first Terminator.
Oh, okay. Man, there's so many Terminator connections in this one. Yeah.
He was one of the bad guys. He was the bad guy in Cobra, Sylvester Stallone movie. He was in Star Trek Next Generation, Klingon Officer Clag.
Okay.
He was in the movie Star Trek Generations. He was in 2 episodes of DS9. Rules of Acquisition and To the Death, where he played a Jim Hadar. They're really cool bad guys.
I know of them just from like the role-playing game and stuff.
Cool. And he was also in an episode of Star Trek Enterprise. He played a Romulan. He was Cabal in Dr. Mordred.
Oh, okay.
Opposite.
Yeah. Cool.
And he played short-lived but memorable characters in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was Luke from the very first one, and he played the Judge.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, great character actor. He was the bounty hunter in X-Files. Tons of shit. This movie is full of great character actors. I love it. So yeah, he says, I can fly a helicopter.
But he's got one condition.
He won't go alone. He's got someone to go with him.
And I love this scene because he calls, and what's the name? I forget the name he says.
I do
but
too. I forget
it's
it.
clearly a woman's name.
Yeah.
But then this dude runs out of the aerobics hall.
Uh-huh.
And they kind of like, stand close together. And the powerlifter's like, you got a problem with it?
And Harry's like, no. No, I do not.
And he's literally just like, hey, here's the $2,000. Let's go.
Yeah, and this guy says, I'll be there. I can fly it. I'll be there. He gives him the money and takes off. Tells him where to go.
And he's about to run back, but when he gets out into the street, he notices Julie wandering around asking if people can fly a helicopter.
Yeah. And then a police car comes out of nowhere and almost hits him, right?
Yep.
And crashes through the building. Mm-hmm. And it's Wilson. And his sister. And they are badly hurt.
Oh, they do have a moment, though. What is it? It's right before that happens. They have a bit of a conversation. No. You're right. This happens first.
Right.
Yeah.
So then these cops show up.
Yep.
And they're obviously after Wilson. They're saying, like, come out, cop killer. Shit like that.
And we learned that he found his sister.
But she's been shot.
Yeah, they're not doing so hot.
That's when Wilson says to Julie that it's a meltdown happening because she still doesn't know exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. His sister dies, and Wilson wants Harry to kill him. But Wilson actually dies on his own before Harry has the chance to. You
can tell Harry's kind of like mulling it over. If he can go through
he's working up the nerve to do it, but then Wilson just expires.
Wilson even tells him like, "Hey man, it's not even going to be murder. It's you just giving me mercy now."
Yeah, I'll be dead in 50 minutes anyway. Less than that by this time.
And they don't know what the fuck they're going to do now.
Yeah, that's when Julie and Harry have a conversation by themselves, and they go off into this one room. Mm-hmm. And the room is full of clocks. And they're surrounded by clocks, but they're out of time.
Very thematic.
Yeah. And they decide they're just going to go surrender to the police before they come in and just start shooting the place up.
Say they were bystanders.
Yeah. And at this point, also, Harry's thinking maybe the missiles aren't coming.
Right. It's close to the time.
It's getting close to the time. Maybe they're wrong. So they're like, okay, well, we'll go out there, give ourselves up. But then all the cops are bugging out. They're leaving in a hurry.
And my favorite one is like once the cars pull off, you think it's done, and then a guy like rappels down from the roof and just like hits the ground, scrambles up and runs.
Yeah, it comes out of the top of the frame out of nowhere and just runs after the truck. Yeah. So it's like, oh shit, well they've heard. And it's actually going to happen. It's really happening.
And then this is the scene I thought of. He stops to use another payphone and somehow remembers that area code and calls the father of Chip.
Yep.
And wants that confirmation of like, is your son a soldier? Is he stationed here? Da-da-da-da.
And he gets confirmation that yes.
And he tries to give him the message, but the dude just hangs up on him. Because I guess he already realizes probably what's going on.
And at this point, like dawn is coming, things are starting to brighten up outside. Traffic's picking up, and people are obviously losing their shit at this point.
Yep. You can tell that somehow it's leaked.
Yeah. People are looting.
And I wanted to talk about this for a moment too, because like it gets really dark really fast. Because like one of the first things that happen is we see some of this looting, and then they're kind of trying to work their way to the building. And the first thing that happens is a dude runs up and just tries to grab Julie.
Yeah.
And like wants to just like throw her down and rape her.
Yeah. And you see a couple of people like fucking right there on the street or something too.
They never linger on it, but it's just enough to be like, oh
it's
man.
It's there in the background. Yeah. And there's like a news broadcast going on, and the newscasters are talking about the rumors of a nuclear war, and it goes to this one person out in the field, and he just gets shot by a bystander. So everyone's losing their shit, which is exactly what would happen. This is exactly what would happen in this situation.
And this is where I wanted to bring up a film, because if you're into this part of the film, you should check out Threads. It was a BBC film, but it's the same thing of like the real, like most realistic depiction of what would happen if a nuclear war happened and you had to deal with the fallout.
I've heard of that before, but I actually haven't watched the movie yet.
Oh my god, well, you definitely need to.
Isn't it done like a documentary too, almost? Yeah.
And it's as this one, it kind of just goes up like Miracle Mile. Spoiler: it stops at the moment of the missile hitting, but Threads actually goes on beyond that, and like what it would be like to live in this bombed out area with like only some survivors and everything's irradiated. And it is like one of the most bleak, depressing films ever, but it's super good.
Yeah,
It would be a good companion piece to this one.
Cool.
So he gives Julie the gun and says, "Take this." Get to the roof.
Yeah, because he thought he saw the chopper pilot.
Yeah, and he's like, what the hell's he doing?
He sees this guy in spandex across the street, and he's like, where's he going? I'm going to go get him. Yeah, take the gun, go to the building.
And then again, as soon as she has the gun and tries to walk off, the first thing that happens is the dude tries to grab her, and she shoves the gun right in his face.
Yeah.
So he has to like...
And I think isn't this the part where they've declared that they love each other? Like they actually say, I love you and all that stuff. Yeah, so he gets across the street.
Which is its own, like, trial.
Yeah. Cars are crashing into one another. It's not the chopper pilot, though. Nope. It's just some other muscle-bound dude. So then Harry has to get back across the street.
Which now it's jammed.
And there's a fun crane shot here, too, where he gets on top of that car. Yeah. And you're kind of seeing all the chaos. And this is what you were talking about, where they had closed off the street.
Yeah. It's a gorgeous shot.
Yeah, it's great.
It's one of those things, like, they put in the work to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. And there's cars crashing everywhere. There's fires. People are going crazy. And this movie only had a budget of, what, like $3 to $4 million? Mm-hmm. That's not very much. I think they did quite a bit with a limited budget. Oh, yeah,
for sure. And the first car he's on is, like, a parked one, so then he, like, jumps to the next one, and he's just going to car hop. But the next one he jumps on, the dude immediately flips out, grabs a gun, and starts shooting up.
Yeah, right through the roof.
Yeah.
So he's jumping off that, but the guy's stuck in traffic anyway, so he just gets out of his car, and he is chasing Harry with his gun. And they're crawling underneath the cars. And
this, again, is where you kind of get how sad this situation is, because as he's crawling, you can see he looks off to the side, and there's, like, just groups of, like, dudes where they've tackled women down.
Yeah.
And are trying to have their way with them.
Yeah, and there's dead people in the streets.
And it's just like, fuck, man. Like,
yeah.
It took, like, 2 seconds for everything to just go to hell.
I think that's actually what would happen, too.
Probably, yeah.
Whew. So he actually goes into a sewer, into a sewer drain to get away from this wacko.
And the fucking guy chases him into the sewer.
He's like firing down there blindly and shit. Ugh.
But he's like almost right to the building, so he's kind of able to wind his way to a sewer access that's like right there.
Mm-hmm. So he gets into the lobby of the building, and you see, if you blink, you'll miss it. You see Julie on the left side of the frame.
Yeah.
As he's trying to get into the elevator. Then they see each other at the last moment. So they're in the elevator, and then the elevator stops.
Yeah, there's some power trouble in the building. Yeah.
And there's some interesting conversations here.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines of the film was right here.
Yeah, what's that?
She asks him like, "Oh, everything's gonna be okay, all right? People are gonna help each other, right? They're gonna like work together and try to fix things after it's over, and everything will be okay." And he just says, "I think it's the insects' turn now."
Yeah. But she says something like, she says that they're atoms, and their spirits will always be together.
Yeah, very heartfelt.
Mm-hmm. But then the elevator starts back up, and they go back up to the roof. And that sleazy dude who was there before, Gerstead, he's insane. He's shirtless. He's obviously drunk or on drugs, both.
Yeah, he mentioned he's been taking a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But the helicopter's gone.
Helicopter's gone. There's a dead body laying over there on the side. Mm-hmm. I think it was one of the women.
Yeah, it is.
With a machine gun. And they see a missile come in. It seems to go past LA, though, or at least...
It's like it's going somewhere beyond.
Yeah, he says something about it's going all the way to Tijuana.
And that's really when it sets in that, like, no, okay.
It's real.
This was real the whole time.
Yeah. But then the pilot shows up. The chopper comes back. And it is the pilot.
And he literally tells them, I promised I would get you.
Yeah, but he's bleeding bad. Like, blood's like pouring out of his mouth.
And it made me wonder, like, we don't know what happened on the helipad. And that's part of what I like about the film is, like, shit went down, but we just weren't there because we're following Harry.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if, like, he flew to the airport, dropped off his significant other, and then was like, hey, I got to fly back and get Harry.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I like not knowing what's happened to these people and what's happened in between. And I like that he keeps his word and he comes back.
Yeah.
It's just...
Because, again, in that situation, the temptation is just to be like, fuck it, everyone for themselves.
Yeah. But they take off. They see more missiles coming in.
Yeah. Multiple this time.
Yeah. And we see the explosion. And the sleazeball's looking at it, and he's like, covering his eyes and shit, because they probably just like boiled.
But there's an electromagnetic pulse from the explosion, and it literally kills the helicopter immediately.
Yeah, and they're going down, and it's a cool shot too when they're going.
I like how it's filmed. Again, it's like we always talk about this. Like if you work within your budget and don't try to do something beyond what you could afford to do, and you really like focus, you can make so many great things and make it look amazing just with like not as much.
Yeah, you pretty much get their POV. It's being shot through the helicopter doors that are open, and it's basically like probably like rear projection or something.
Yeah,
but they're heading right toward the La Brea tar pits.
So right back where we started.
Yeah, right back where we started. Right back where the relationship really started. And then they land, and
they crash dead center in the middle of a pit.
Which it doesn't get. And it's not subtle. It's like we're gonna be extinct just like these dinosaurs.
Yeah,
you know.
And Julie is hysterical because their cabin starts to fill with the tar.
Yeah,
and she cannot calm down at all. And then Harry finally gets control of the situation, and it's with what he says to her, which he says that someday we're going to be fossils and people will find us, and I bet they'll put us in a museum. Or if not that, maybe there'll be a direct hit right around here, and we'll just get turned into diamonds.
Yeah.
And something about that, like, it comforts her in that moment, which I think again is a testament to like how perfect they are together. That like with just those few words, like she perfectly understands him, and it changes everything.
Right. Yeah, and that's where the movie ends.
Yep, she calms down. She embraces him. They hug.
And everything goes dark.
You see it fill up with the tar until it goes black, and then there's an explosion.
End of movie.
Powerful.
It is, and the director is completely right. A happy ending. How would that even work?
I guess it would be they get to the airport and get away, but then still it's like, what, you're going to go to Antarctica, and then what are you going to do?
Right. Yeah, that's not a happy ending either.
So, the Blu-ray that you got me, I did browse the special features. Before we do some like other fun facts, I wanted to talk about this. One of the features was an alternate ending.
No, I did not know.
And I was like, that's weird. I couldn't find anything about it online. It's very lean, but it's only like one little thing that's different, and I'm kind of glad they didn't use this. Yeah. But it's the final scene, and it plays out exactly the same. You get to the explosion happens, and then there's kind of this like 80s, like, it's like the visual effects where it's like drawn, but they make it look, like Ghostbusters and some other films, they have this like, where it'll be like light or energy kind of effect.
Hand-drawn animation.
Hand-drawn animation. Yeah. And it's like a flash, and then it turns into two diamonds that are like resting side by side together.
Yeah, we didn't need that.
That's a little too much.
I'm glad that was cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dialogue is enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was funny, because I was like, really? There's an alternate ending? And it's just that 2 seconds.
It would have been hilarious if it was like a happy ending.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there was no attack. Everything's fine. Or it was just a dream. Like he wake up from the power failure. It was a dream he had. Then he goes on his date and everything's great. Ugh, how awful would that be?
Yes, it's good that he stuck to his guns on this.
Yes.
And he knew what it needed to be.
Yes,
he knew how he wanted to make it, and he wrote that line and made the film.
Yep, I respect the hell out of
that. Let's see.
We talked a lot about the trivia already. Actually,
I've got a few I want to bring in because I keep bringing up David Lynch this episode, so I gotta get this in. Fred the Cook, the role was originally offered to Jack Nance.
Wow, yeah, I can see that.
He refused it because he wanted to focus on his day job as a security guard at the time. You gotta love Jack Nance.
I love Jack Nance.
Let's see, what else? Oh, the restaurant they're at, the little diner place. It's called Fat Boy.
Yeah.
And it kind of has like a little mascot that looks like the Frisch's Big Boy. But that's actually a reference to the 2 atomic bombs that were dropped. Fat Man and Little Boy.
Yeah. That's a real diner too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Johnny's Coffee Shop.
Nice.
And it was actually located on Miracle Mile. It closed in the 90s, I think. Yeah,
Of course it did.
But the building's never been demolished, and it still gets used in films and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And apparently in modern times, they've used it for like pop-up shops and little like event things.
Was that the one that was used for the Big Lebowski?
I don't know.
'Cause it looks a lot like it. I just realized that.
But a sad fact for our times now, I guess. Most recent notable thing with it was in 2016. It was the campaign headquarters for the presidential campaign for Bernie Sanders.
Wow.
Rip.
Crazy.
So that's cool. We already talked about the weird production stuff. Let's see.
It cost $3 to $4 million, but just made over $1 million at the box office. But it was kind of a sleeper hit on VHS. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, when I looked at the reviews and stuff, like generally they're all really positive.
And it got good critical notices, yeah.
I think even if you care to go by like the Rotten Tomatoes thing, I think it's got like a 90-something%.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty impressive. We didn't talk about the music very much, but Tangerine Dream.
Yes.
Great score, I thought.
It is. It's not obtrusive.
It's never in your face. It's very complimentary to what's going on.
Right. It's a good 80s synth score.
Other fun things. Oh, the Pan Pacific Theater appeared in this movie, and it was the last time that it was in film. It burned to the ground just slightly after this film came out.
Oh, wow.
So the original script, there was a lot of stuff that was very different, and it changed a bunch of times. The very first like draft of it, Julie had a 10-year-old son, and it was like this whole subplot. And apparently that was part of the reason she left the roof to go find a pilot, was out of concern for the kid.
Yeah, I'm glad they cut that. We don't need that. That's one more element. We need to concentrate on their romance.
Right. That's like the fat. That, like if you were a good storyteller, you're going to cut that out.
Yep.
Let's see. What else do I have? Oh, I have a fun quote from Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, in an interview talking about the film. He said, that was a script that everybody wanted to make, but they wanted the director to change the ending. It was this great adventure, but they wanted it to have a happy ending. But he stuck it out, and luckily he stuck it out long enough that I became old enough to play the part. So I got to do it, and we did it at a time when there really was no green screen for special effects. You had to shoot what was there. It's amazing how dated that film looks now because of our ability to do things technically these days. I mean, I guess you could say it looks antiquated. Mare Winningham is one of the greatest actresses ever. It was 8 weeks of night shooting. So you'd be driving home from work at like 6 in the morning, having had a wrap beer, and then suddenly going, oh my God, what do people think of somebody having a beer at 6 in the morning when everybody else is on their way to work?
Nice.
Oh,
the guy who played the gas station attendant, his name's Edward Bunker. That was bugging me. He was in Reservoir Dogs. He was in Tango and Cash. The Long Riders. That's a good Western.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The director has a cameo in the film. He is one of the people in the street that gets shot and falls down.
Oh, nice.
And then this is the one last thing I wanted to have, because this is like a fun coda to this film, I think. So later, Anthony Edwards and Mare Winningham would work together again on the small screen in parts on ER for a time.
Yeah.
And then, some 3 decades after making this movie, after both of them had been divorced from other spouses, they started dating in their private lives and were married in 2021.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
So isn't that crazy?
That is awesome. I'm glad those two kids finally got together. After what they went through, they deserve it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So again, it's like they have a chemistry with
Yeah.
one another.
Obviously it was real.
Apparently it transcends the film.
That's great. That's awesome. Well.
So I think we've wrung all we can.
Yeah, I think so too.
At least for the two of us.
Should I say my thoughts on this movie first, since I've seen it?
You picked it and you've seen it first, so I think,
okay.
yeah.
Now, I actually have not rewatched this since the late 80s. But it left an impression on me. And I always meant to come back and revisit it. Mm-hmm. And it was always something I had in mind for the podcast, too. And I saw the blue, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take a chance. I'll see if Dustin likes this. I think it holds up remarkably well. I mean, I'm older now, more mature. I get more of the themes. Mm-hmm. But even then, I was struck by its frantic quality. You know, that kind of like nightmare, fever dream.
Oh yeah,
sort of ambiance it has. And it was the first time in a movie outside of a horror flick, like Night of the Living Dead or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was the first time I saw like a gut punch of an ending in a movie. Yeah. And that freaked me out. First of all, the nuclear war stuff freaked me out.
Right. That's very real and very scary.
Yeah. But then the fact that they actually died and didn't make it was like...
Because you love these two characters and you want them to be happy and you want them to get away.
Yeah. And I wasn't used to sad endings in a non-horror film. Mm-hmm. So that was... and it still holds up. I think it's still a really well-made movie. I saw another interview with Anthony Edwards talking about how he said it looks dated, but in a good way. You know, and I agree with that.
Classical, I think.
A classical way. And I agree with that. Because, some the effects aren't top-notch, even for the time. But
again, it's like they don't need a lot.
They don't need a lot, right.
They keep it in the budget.
Right. It's about the story. It's not about the effects. And it does enough that you understand what's happening and it doesn't take you out of the movie. The whole hand-drawn diamonds thing, that may have taken you out of the movie.
That was too much, and it was rightfully left on the floor.
Yeah.
If they had tried to make this modern day, like there would have been some dumbass CGI.
Oh, yeah.
For, I don't know what, the missiles or something.
It would have been all about the destruction, not about the story. I love that I finally watched it again. If I give it a rating, I think I'll land on a 4.
Okay.
Actually.
Cool.
So, what was your thoughts?
My only question before I get into my thoughts is you're giving it a 4. I didn't hear much criticism out of you. So where's that star?
Okay. How come it's not a 5?
Yeah, right. What's that je ne sais quoi?
I think the only thing, and this doesn't really hurt the movie for me, the only thing that keeps it from being a 5 is just the crazy coincidences, which in a way adds to it, because it adds that nightmare logic, just that fever dream that you're frantic and you're just trying to get something done. Like he remembers the conversation so well, and then the phone number, and he just happens to find a helicopter pilot, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
It works for me.
That's where this had been a Twilight Zone thing, like kind of the little building blocks of that.
Right. Honestly, that's probably my only real complaint. Other than that, I don't know why. That's probably the only thing that keeps it from being a 5-star movie to me.
Okay, cool.
But 4 is still pretty fucking good.
Oh, especially from you. I just wanted to quantify that a little bit.
True.
So my thoughts on this film.
Yeah.
Just to rattle off a few things again, like it's so hard to deny the chemistry that Harry and Julie have. I love it. I hate the whole like love at first sight trope unless it's like played for a joke or there's some like point to it in the end. But here it just works so well.
Yeah.
I loved the vibe of the first half of the film too. That's kind of this fun like tour guide of LA where you're going to all these famous places, the La Brea tar pits, all these iconic buildings and areas, and it feels like you're there as a tourist checking all this out while you're seeing a fun like story unfold.
Yeah.
I love that. Once it starts rolling, like it's so nonstop and so frenetic and just all over the place. And I love the pace that it has and how it just keeps gunning and gunning and gunning. And again, like he's on the clock and you feel it through the way the film unfolds that he's got to go. And if he doesn't make the deadline, it's over. And that whole aspect of time, like it ties so well with like the theme of the film that I think it gives you this very visceral feeling while you're watching it and you're in the moment. And I'm impressed again that like they went for that bleak ending because it would be so easy to say, oh, they get to the airport and they take off and then they're on the plane together and they say, I love you, and they kiss. And then, oh, the music swells and that's the end. It's like, it's what you and me say, like, life doesn't always have that happy ending. And, and again, I like too that like they do acknowledge the idea of like the darker stuff that would go on if this scenario unfolded with like how quickly people start killing each other, start like assaulting one another. But they also don't revel in it. This isn't an extreme horror film.
Right.
So it lets that sit to the side. It gives you the idea and lets you know like, hey, this shit's going on.
Yeah, it lets you fill in the really horrible parts. Yeah.
But it leaves it to you to just kind of settle with that idea. So all that being said, I love this film so much. Like,
Awesome.
damn, dude, it was just so good.
Awesome.
I don't think a second of screen time was wasted. I think, like, it gets into that category where I almost want to call it a perfect film in a way. Like,
Oh, wow.
even your hang-ups of, like, the incidental things, like, I think that's just Harry, man. Like, he's just
Yeah.
having one bad day.
Yeah.
And it seems like he generally is a lucky guy and things kind of turn up the way he wants, but it's
Not this time.
when it all throws in the blender, man, it just goes off the rails. Can't believe I had never heard of it. I can't believe this isn't like celebrated more and talked about more and like
Thank
brought up
you.
more in the conversation.
Yeah, it needs to be seen more.
If you've never seen this film, this is one like I hardline say definitely go out, seek it out. Is it streaming anywhere? Or
Yeah, it's on Tubi. It's free.
okay, yeah, well, hit up Tubi and watch this like immediately. Super rewarding, worth your time. Don't think you'll regret it. I loved it so much. I give it a 5-star.
Wow.
Starting the
Oh my
year,
gosh.
going hard, 5-star,
All right.
out the gate.
Damn. You liked it more than me.
Let's
even.
fucking go.
All right.
Good pick, Jason. Finally, one of your half-remembered younger day films turned out to be really amazing.
Nice. Maybe I can keep that trend going.
It just took the feng shui of Michael leaving us for you to pick a winner. So, like for Harry, there's some win and some loss there. So,
All right, man. I'm glad you dug it. I really am because I was
man.
kind of
wow,
worried.
it was just like I was real impressed. I've done nothing but think about it since I watched it,
Awesome.
and I went out of my way to not log it on Letterboxd till right now.
Yeah, I have been.
Because I wanted to make you sweat a little bit.
I've been sweating. Whew. Well, I feel vindicated. Thank you.
Awesome. Lovely film. Definitely make sure you get it and check it out. Mm-hmm. You will appreciate having done so.
I think so.
So that said, next up, we're going to do a listener episode. This would have normally been like probably Michael's spot or something, but
Yeah.
as long as he's not here, we are going to
One of you listeners will be the new Michael. next
lean
time.
on you, our listeners. And we're going back to a show favorite, Urban Groucho.
Yeah.
We're going to check out History of the Occult from 2020.
I'm interested in this.
Now, we wanted to cover this one like forever ago, but it was in this weird like licensing limbo where like every other country in the world already had it streaming and out there, but it was being held back for the US. And I don't know why, but now it's kind of just popped up on Screambox,
Yeah, all of a sudden.
which is this newer horror streaming platform. So we can finally get at it. We're excited to check it out. We'll get into all of that next time, and I guess maybe talk about Screambox a little bit too. And
I've
our
been
thoughts,
anxious to
and
check them out. Yeah.
we'll toss in a mini review of Screambox
There you go.
along the way.
Awesome.
So, all that being said, I will now try to do the outros, which I am bad at.
Okay.
And maybe trying to channel Michael a little bit.
Yeah, do it.
As always, we thank you so much for tuning in and listening and spending your time with us and looking into the films that we're digging up and uncovering as we go along. Keep writing in. Let us know what you've been watching. Give us film recommendations. We're going to need a lot of them to carry the ship
Yeah.
without Michael. So, throw them at us. It doesn't matter what it is, what genre, whether you think we've seen it, we haven't seen it, whether you want to troll us with something weird, bring it, we're ready, we're
Do
willing.
it. Do it.
Go as extreme as you want.
Yeah, we could
You
take
can
it.
do it, man. Hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Send us an email at genreexposure@gmail.com. Anywhere you can get at us, we love it, and we are happy to hear from you. Other than that, all things said, you've been listening to Genre Exposure.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.